Hello friends, hope you are fine. End of negotiations and shutdown of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. These are our main topic of this week analytical report from Ruslan Bortnik. The president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, said the goal for Ukraine is now not peace but victory. This is actually summed up the current Ukrainian line, dotted line, under the negotiation process. President of Ukraine stated that Ukraine's participation in the political negotiation process has now been finished. Restoration of negotiation process has recently been sought by the both Turkish President of Recep Erdogan and United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Ukrainian president said that we hold on for 6 months. It's hard for us, but we clenched our fist and gnaw out our fate. Each new day is a new reason not to give up, because having gone through so much, we have not right not to reach the end. What is the end of the war for us? We used to say peace, now we say victory. We will not seek understanding with terrorists. Also, we understand the Russian language which you came to defend and killed thousands of people who came to liberate. And we do not sit down at the negotiation table out of fear with a gun to our heads. For us, the most terrible iron is not rockets, planes, tanks, but chains. No trenches, but shackles. And we will raise our hands only once, when we celebrate our victory all over Ukraine, because we do not trade our lands and our people. For us, Ukraine is a whole Ukraine, all 25 regions, without any concessions or compromises. The official position, which consists in the intention to restore the full territorial integrity of the country, including Crimea, exclusively by military means. Until then, there will be no negotiation, at last not public ones. But peace can be sudden, especially for society. Although we will be probably talk about the suddenness of peace and agreements separately in other video. Most likely the negotiation process will be frozen until the middle or end of autumn, until the current military potential of the parties is exhausted. Tactical reserves will be used. And due to the weather conditions, the intensity of the hostilities will decrease. Both Ukraine and Russian political leadership is feeling serious internal pressure from the population, from the society. Russian society demands quick and significant result in the war against Ukraine and victories. Ukraine society is not in the mood for any compromises and also puts pressure on the country's leadership in terms of counter-offensives. The Russian Federation recognizes that the pace of the offensive has been reduced. And Minister of Defense Sergei Shoigu was forced to make excuses for the fact that the armed forces of the Russian Federation failed to achieve a military result in terms of capturing the Donbas region. The second phase of so-called military operation in the Donbas has already been going on since April 18. The operation paused after capture of the city of Lysychansk ended on July 16. 4.5 months. Ukrainian missile strikes on Russian weapons and fuel depots had a serious impact on the situation. It was from a military technical point of view that the Russian Federation was unable to capture the Donbas, and not because of concerns for the civilian population, as the Minister of Defense said. There are signs that the sides of conflict, Russia, Ukraine and Western countries, are preparing for a protracted war. The United States has approved a new $2.8 billion military aid package for Ukraine. Part of that money will go towards funding contracts for munition and equipment that may not be hit the battlefield for a year or two. In the Russian Federation, it was decided to increase the army by 137,000 servicemen. Servicemen already in 2024, with the explication of a new phase of the war as early as next year. It is likely that in terms of the need to continue hostilities, Russian ground forces in Ukraine will be increased by 50%. The United States will announce a long-term military mission to support Ukraine and appoint a general responsible for it. The appointed general will be responsible for the supply of aid, its coordination and training of the Ukrainian military. What does the announcement of military operation means? The first, official recognition of the military operation itself. It is. The second, United States planning for a long-term funding support for Ukraine. The third, participation in helping Ukraine with American military, who is particular can be even awarded for this. And the fourth, the most important, it's the technology of controlling over the 40 billion United States dollars Lend-Lease funds, for which the opposition criticized Biden during the November congressional election. On the whole, Western countries continue to provide military assistance to Ukraine, but it's likely that foreign donors are starting to run out of weapons, especially European countries. The situation at the front will largely depend on the speed of deliveries of weapons from the United States, which remains the first supplier of weapons for Ukraine. Recently, the situation in the front line has largely not changed. The fighting mainly continued in the areas of cities Siversk, Soledar, Bakhmut, and in the area of the city of Donetsk. From the city of the Izium, there are attempts to advance in the direction of the city of Slaviansk and Barvenkovo. It was not successful. It becomes obvious that the Russian Federation fails to seize the entire territory of Donbass before September 11 this year, a single voting day in the Russian Federation. Because of this, uncertainty arose regarding the conduct of the so-called referendum in the occupied territories. It is not known for certain whether they will be held or whether they will be postponed. Part of these territories, occupied territories, Lugansk or Kherson regions, are potentially ready for this referendum. Donetsk region of the Russian Federation controls only approximately 65%. Although the so-called referendum in 2014, the result of which Russian authorities can rely on. Now, both sides are not able to conduct a strategic offensive, while the prospects for a settlement agreement, peace agreement, are completely absent. There is only a possibility of temporary ceasefire to replenish forces, renewing forces. The situation at the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant is becoming more and more difficult. As a result of shelling, the station was completely disconnected from Ukrainian networks for the first time in her history. Disconnecting the station from the network can be regarded as a possible preparation for disconnecting it from the Ukrainian energy system as whole. A visit to the station by the International Atomic Energy Agency inspectors and the permanent mission, if it nevertheless takes place, will make it possible to establish the station, of the station at the present time, but will not solve the very problem of the possibility of the accidents and the nuclear threat. Science most likely shelling of the station and adjustment territory will continue. But perhaps it will be possible to determine where the station is being shelled from. It is possible that behind the scenes, the parties and bargaining with respect to the mandate of the International Atomic Energy Agency and the conclusion it will draw. Ukraine is interested in the IAEA mission insisting on the withdrawal of all Russian troops from the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, and the Russian Federation wants that the agency mission to record the facts of shelling from the territory of Ukraine. In the meantime, in fact, Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is disconnected from the Ukrainian energy system, which the Russian side planned to do before September 1. This situation increases the likelihood of the rolling blackouts in Ukraine during the winter period, and the most likely will not allow Ukraine to export electricity to the European Union countries as it was planned earlier. For reference, the cost of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is at least $20 billion. It seems that Ukraine is also becoming a zone of United States, China, Taiwan confrontation. In response for the statement about the possible arrival in the Donbass, so-called workers or soldiers from the North Korea, Ukraine will intensify cooperation with Taiwan. The special parliamentary group was done, and Taiwan is already providing financial and military assistance to Ukraine. 800 revolver drones, revolver 6000, will be sent to Ukraine. Mass media talk about this. The Ukrainian economy is now largely dependent on external assistance from foreign donors, which is often insufficient and untimely. In this connection, the National Bank of Ukraine is forced to carry out an unplanned issue of the hryvnia. Over the past week, the National Bank of Ukraine issued another 30 billion hryvnias. Thus, the total amount of National Bank funding through the printing of hryvnia funding the budget has already reached 285 billion hryvnias. Therefore, it is likely that by the end of the year, the National Bank of Ukraine will not meet the emission plan on the level of 400 billion hryvnias. Of course, it will lead situation to the new way of inflation in devaluation. Thank you, friends, for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe. I am looking and waiting for your clever questions. See you next time. Bye-bye.